Don't chase, attract. What belongs to you will simply find you. Stoicism. The parable of two paths. There once were two travelers seeking the same destination. The first chose the path of pursuit. Every step was a struggle. Every milestone reached only revealed how far they still had to go. They pushed, they fought, they grasped desperately at their goal. The second chose the path of attraction. They focused not on the destination, but on becoming the kind of traveler worthy of reaching it. They moved with purpose but without attachment, trusting that each step was unfolding exactly as it should. Both sought the same outcome, but only one would find lasting fulfillment. Welcome, friends. Today we explore one of the most transformative principles from Stoic philosophy, a principle that has the power to completely reshape your relationships, your work, your peace of mind, and your sense of purpose. The ancient Stoics understood something that modern society has forgotten. The quality of your life isn't determined by how desperately you chase what you want, but by how effectively you become a person worthy of what you seek. Before we dive deeper, take a moment to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you value wisdom that stands the test of time. Only a small percentage of viewers are subscribed, and your support enables this channel to continue sharing these transformative insights. Now, let's explore why what truly belongs to you will find you, not through desperate pursuit, but through who you choose to become. Part 1. The modern disease of chasing. We live in a culture of chase success, chase relationships, chase status, chase happiness. The underlying message is always the same. What you have isn't enough. Who you are isn't enough, and only through relentless pursuit can you find fulfillment. But the Stoics recognized a profound truth. Chasing creates a psychological prison. The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the one who craves more." Here's the psychological trap of chasing. First, it places your sense of completeness outside yourself, in the hands of people and circumstances you cannot control. Second, it creates attachment to specific outcomes, setting you up for inevitable disappointment. Third, it blinds you to the richness of the present moment and the opportunities right in front of you. Think about relationships. When you chase someone, constantly texting, pursuing, needing validation, what happens? They sense your desperation and pull away. Your very pursuit creates resistance. I want to share a personal story that transformed my understanding of this principle. Years ago, I was obsessed with landing a particular job. It was all I could think about. I prepared endlessly for the interview. I researched every detail about the company. I visualized getting the position constantly. When the interview came, I was so focused on getting the outcome I wanted that I couldn't be present. I came across as desperate rather than confident. Needless to say, I didn't get the job. 6 months later, I interviewed for a different position. But this time, something had changed in me. I wasn't attached to the outcome. I was genuinely curious about the company and whether we were a mutual fit. I was confident in my skills, but at peace with whatever happened. The difference was palpable. The conversation flowed naturally. I made a genuine connection with the interviewer, and I was offered a position that turned out to be far better than the one I had originally pursued. This is the paradox the Stoics understood. When we chase, we create resistance. When we attract, we create flow. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. The Stoics weren't suggesting passivity. They were pointing to a more effective approach to creating the life you want. Becoming a person who naturally attracts aligned circumstances rather than chasing outcomes from a place of lack. Part 2. The wisdom of non-attachment. At the heart of the Stoic approach is a principle found in many wisdom traditions: non-attachment. The ability to prefer something, without demanding it must happen exactly as you envision. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of Rome's greatest philosophers, created a simple framework. Clearly distinguish between what is in your control and what is not. Then focus completely on what is in your control while accepting what is not. According to the Stoics, the only things truly in your control are your judgments, your values, your decisions, and your actions. Everything else, how others respond, external outcomes, timing, circumstances, lies outside your control. This insight changes everything. When you focus only on what you control, becoming a person of excellence, regardless of circumstances, you shift from the energy of desperate pursuit to the energy of magnetic attraction. Consider rejection. When you're attached to a specific outcome, rejection devastates you. It feels personal. It shakes your confidence. But when you're non-attached, when your focus is on bringing your best rather than controlling outcomes, rejection becomes merely useful information. It redirects you toward what does belong in your life. Think about the times in your life when not getting what you wanted led to something better. The relationship that didn't work out before you met your actual ideal partner. The job rejection that pushed you toward your true calling. The plan that fell apart, creating space for an unexpected opportunity. The Stoics called this amor fati, the love of fate. Not just accepting what happens, but recognizing it as necessary for your journey. History's most successful people understood this principle. They weren't necessarily the most talented, but they were the most adaptable, able to use rejection and failure as redirection rather than defeat. Seneca put it this way: the greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. This brings us to the core Stoic practice, focusing on the quality of your presence and actions right now, rather than fixating on future outcomes. Part 3. Becoming magnetic, the Stoic virtues. If excellence attracts what belongs to you, what specific qualities should you develop? The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues that naturally magnetize, align circumstances into your life. First is wisdom, clear judgment and discernment. This means developing the ability to see reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Second is courage, not the absence of fear, but action despite fear. This means facing difficult truths, having challenging conversations, and taking calculated risks aligned with your values. Third is justice, fair treatment of others, and ethical engagement with the world. This means keeping your word, giving credit where due, and conducting yourself with integrity in all relationships. Fourth is temperance, moderation, and self-discipline. This means mastering impulses, delaying gratification, and maintaining emotional equilibrium in all circumstances. These aren't abstract philosophical concepts. They're practical qualities that dramatically increase your effectiveness and influence, without the desperate energy of chasing. In professional contexts, these virtues make you the person others want to work with, promote, and recommend, not because you're pursuing recognition, but because your excellence naturally attracts it. In relationships, these virtues make you someone others trust deeply and feel secure with, not because you're demanding commitment, but because your presence naturally inspires it. Marcus Aurelius, who was both a philosopher and the most powerful man in the world as emperor of Rome, reminded himself, waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. This direct approach, focusing on being rather than getting, naturally attracts compatible circumstances, while releasing what doesn't serve your highest good. Part 4. The Paradox of Surrender. There's a powerful paradox at the heart of the Stoic approach. To receive what truly belongs to you, you must be willing to live well without it. Think about how water behaves. When it encounters an obstacle, it doesn't fight or become frustrated. It simply flows around, finding the path of least resistance. Yet over time, water reshapes even the hardest stone. This is the Stoic concept of peaceful surrender, not to be confused with giving up. You still take purposeful action toward what you want, but you release attachment to how and when it manifests. Epictetus, who understood suffering intimately as a former slave, taught, make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. This approach creates a psychological freedom that is deeply attractive. When you're not desperately attached to specific outcomes, you can see opportunities others miss. You can pivot when necessary. You can maintain your center regardless of external circumstances. The irony is that this very willingness to live well without something often creates the conditions for it. To enter your life, but in its right time and right form, which may differ from your original vision. Let me share another personal story that illustrates this principle. For years, I had a specific vision of success that I chased relentlessly. I worked 80-hour weeks. I sacrificed relationships. I ignored my health. And despite all my effort, that particular vision remained elusive. It was only when I finally surrendered when I asked myself, what if my definition of success is too narrow? What if something better is trying to emerge? That everything shifted. I focused instead on doing work that felt meaningful each day, regardless of outcomes. I rebuilt relationships. I prioritized well-being alongside achievement. And paradoxically, once I released my attachment to my original vision, opportunities began appearing that were far better aligned with my authentic strengths and values than what I had been pursuing. The Stoics would recognize this pattern immediately. Seneca wrote, "The willing are led by fate, the reluctant dragged." You can either flow with your true path or exhaust yourself fighting against it. Part 5. Daily practices for shifting from chasing to attracting. Let's explore 5 practical Stoic exercises to shift from desperately chasing to magnetically attracting what belongs to you, netically attracting what belongs to you. First practice, the morning reflection. Begin each day by setting your intention to focus only on what you control. Ask yourself, who do I want to be today, regardless of what happens? This shifts your focus from outcomes to character. Second practice, the evening review. End each day by asking 3 questions. What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? How can I improve tomorrow? This builds self-awareness and continuous growth, qualities that naturally attract opportunity. Third practice, premeditation of difficulties. Regularly imagine challenges that might arise and visualize yourself responding with virtue rather than reactivity. This builds psychological resilience and reduces attachment to things going exactly as planned. Fourth practice, voluntary discomfort. Regularly do things that are uncomfortable but valuable. Cold showers, difficult conversations, fasting, public speaking. This builds your capacity to remain centered regardless of external conditions. Fifth practice, contemplation of impermanence. Regularly reflect on the temporary nature of all things, both pleasant and unpleasant. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, all is ephemeral, both memory and the object of memory. This reduces unhealthy attachment and creates mental freedom. These aren't just philosophical exercises. They're practical tools for becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts what belongs to them while peacefully releasing what doesn't. As you implement these practices, watch how your relationship with circumstances begins to shift. Notice how you become less reactive, less desperate, less attached to specific outcomes, and paradoxically, how this very release creates space for aligned circumstances to find you. Part 6. Signs you're aligning with your true path. How do you know when you're shifting from chasing to attracting? When you're aligning with what truly belongs in your life. The Stoics identified several clear indicators. First sign, synchronicity increases. When you're on your true path, coincidences and perfect timing happen more frequently, not because of magic, but because your awareness is no longer clouded by desperate attachment to specific outcomes. You notice opportunities you would have missed while fixated on your narrow vision. Second sign, flow states become more common. You find yourself losing track of time while engaged in meaningful activities. This happens because you're focused on the quality of your presence and actions rather than anxiously pursuing outcomes. Third sign, setbacks affect you differently. Rather than experiencing rejection or failure as devastating, you see it as useful information guiding you toward your true path. Your resilience isn't based on things going your way, but on your ability to respond virtuously to whatever happens. Fourth sign, opportunities find you without desperate effort. People reach out to collaborate. Doors open seemingly by themselves. This happens not through magic, but because your excellence becomes evident to others when you're not clouded by the energy of neediness. Fifth sign, You feel a sense of rightness even amidst challenges. The Stoics called this eudaimonia, not fleeting happiness, based on pleasant circumstances, but a deep well-being based on living in alignment with your highest nature. These signs don't mean everything will be easy. The Stoics never promised an absence of difficulties. What they promised was that by focusing on virtue rather than outcomes, you would develop the inner strength to handle whatever comes your way, and the wisdom to recognize what truly belongs in your life. Conclusion: the path of wisdom. We began with two travelers seeking the same destination, one through desperate pursuit, one through magnetic attraction. The Stoic path invites you to become the second traveler, to stop exhausting yourself through desperate pursuit, to release the anxiety of attachment to specific outcomes, to focus instead on becoming excellent where you are, with what you have in this present moment. Thousands of years after the Stoics first articulated these principles, modern psychology confirms their wisdom. Research shows that outcome-focused individuals experience more anxiety and less satisfaction than process-focused individuals, even when achieving the same external results. As Epictetus taught, freedom is not procured by a full enjoyment of what is desired, but by controlling desire. True freedom comes not from getting everything you want, but from breaking the psychological chains of desperate pursuit. Don't chase, attract. Become the person who naturally draws in what belongs to you. Release what doesn't. Trust the process. Focus on excellence rather than outcomes. Remember the wisdom of the Stoics. What truly belongs to you will find its way to you, not through desperate pursuit, but through who you become. If this approach resonates with you, give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs this message today. In the comments, I'd love to hear about something you've been chasing that might be better served by becoming rather than pursuing. Remember, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Until next time, memento mori, remember that life is temporary and therefore infinitely precious. Make it count by becoming rather than chasing.